Hello, my name is Hirota, who is considered to be a thermal processing expert in this country. And also earlier, I was quite famous within Nestle, the global food company. This time, what I'm going to show you is preview of a thermal processing course that is going to be developed by TechDesign. TechDesign, I think most of you are first time to hear this word of TechDesign. Educational institute that is quite established, famous in this country, Japan. There, I already run Japanese courses for thermal processing as is featured over there on the screen. So let me talk about what happens in my life. Back in 2001, when that airplane crashed into the World Trade Center, I was suddenly notified by my boss that I'd be one of the thermal processing experts within Nestle. Yes, quite honestly, I was so excited to hear that, like Leonardo DiCaprio, first time showing up in a Titanic movie. And I was expecting that I'll be a hero, beautiful hero. However, the reality was under the hatch, I was confined, feeding coals to keep burning the boiler. The reality was a bit too miserable, honestly speaking. However, finally I was nominated one of the three musketeers, and I will be moving into the next agenda. Why thermal processing is given a spotlight again in this modern era, where people are talking about AI or IT, a lot of things, updated front-edge technologies. What I can say is basics of the thermal processing is remaining firmly unchanged, but the essential slipped off from the memory of the people because it is a bit too old, too classic to be kept in the mind. As there's a need of reviewing basics in our daily life, there's no need of reviewing basics of the thermal processing because, if you push a button, automatically everything is getting out from the basket already after processed. And second, we move on to the pitfalls or the shortcomings that you may face it in the future and emerging issues. A lot of new things are coming up because of the technological development also happening in the world of the food. How important thermal processing is, quite simple. If you are the surgeon or the doctors, you'll be going through qualification process very intensively. University period will be extended roughly to the 6 years, and even after graduating school, you are not straight away assigned as a doctor. You must go through a lot of training processes. And airplane pilot as well. This also, you cannot graduate from school and straight away you become pilot of the international flight course. Of course not. Thermal processing also is requested to acquire licenses in some countries. Notably, in the United States, it is called the Processing Authority. And both in Australia and New Zealand, that is called approved person. That course I went through. And for the export of the thermal processed product to the United States, yes, a lot of people follows the guideline given by the FDA to be registered by the FDA as a qualified persons. So why this kind of complicated process, very much an intensive screening process required in the several countries, particularly notable in the United States? That all happened in the era of the Apollo project, where United States intended to send in astronauts to the moon. And this is the first footprint that was left on the surface of the moon by the Apollo, I don't remember the number. These are the astronauts who first stepped down onto the ground of the moon. And this project was initiated by the legendary hero of the United States, John F. Kennedy. He was assassinated when he was making a parade on Dallas or something. And that thing was broadcasted over the satellite, through the satellite to this country when I was still young children. I was shocked to see that the president of the country is going to be assassinated by the shotgun. And later on, pretty recently, our EX Prime Minister was shot by the gun. That really shocked me again. So history of HACCP, if you take a look at the history of the HACCP, first developed by Pillsbury at the request of NASA, because to make the Apollo project successful. And after seeing the great success in the area of the astronaut food feed, meals, FDA decided to introduce this HACCP into the general foodstuff. And the first thing that they have intended to introduce HACCP was hermetically sealed containers. What it means, canned food or the product filled in the jars and went through retorting process. The reason why FDA wanted to introduce this tangible, great contributing HACCP into first to the canned food stuff is, throughout the history of the development of the United States, this issue has been hanging around already quite a decade. Botulism, and death rate of the botulinum is 1 out of the 10 patients. That is quite significant as a figure. Okay, let's take a look at what happens to you if you are contracted by the botulinum. Look at his face. Look like sleeping, right? She cannot move around her muscle on the face muscles. Facial expression is already lost. And what is happening to this lady is she has lost the ability of the, voluntarily breathing by herself. And because she cannot close her eyes too well, any light irritates her sense. Therefore, her eyes are closed by this thick towel. United States has been struggling to get over these botulism issues. This book was written in 1921, almost 100 years ago. And it is already, sepia colored, brownish colored because of the sunlight bound on the paper. In this old book itself, it has been already introduced, intermittent sterilization. That is a technology that made canned stuff or the bottled stuff, jarred stuff, shelf stable, lasting for at least several years. What it does is intermittent way of sterilization. They soak the cans into the boiling water for 1 hour or so and take it out and let it cool down almost overnight. And on the successive days, they do repeat the same thing again and again. By repeating this way, they can destroy all of the spores of the botulinum. They were back in the early stage when that still, coach was running on the United States. They are applying this technology to preserve their vegetables for the for the winter seasons. This is exactly the reason why still now, if you go to United States and visit the supermarket, see a lot of vegetables filled in the glass bottles and sterilized in an intermittent way to make it lasting for several years. Still, you can see it in the supermarket. And if you would take a look of the old movies, Western movies, you see a lot of Western people are eating beans cooked in this way. And that bean was also cooked in such a way, filled in jars and intermittently sterilized. Still, we want to believe that the establishment of the intermittent sterilization technique is already sound. Still, such as home canned peas, we see the cases of botulinum still arising time to time, even now. And foodborne illness of the botulinum, death rate of the foodborne botulinum is quite intensive, quite high, 8 to 10%. That's the reason why still we need to guarantee and make it sure that anybody who is putting their hands on the thermal processing must be a qualified person, particularly so in the United States. US is still tough on the grip of the thermal processing, unlike other countries. And that is already embedded in a Code of Federal Regulations. This is the way that they call thermal processing expert in the United States, processing authority. And that still makes sense over there as a qualification of the job. Whereas in Japan, Japan has taken a bit different course from the United States. This is association, Japan-Canada Association, who has been training people in the thermal processing since a long time ago. However, these days, sorry to mention to this Japan-Canada Association, their education training is rather inclined toward HACCP and getting away from the thermal processing itself. And as you see over there, HACCP. Most of the time in their training is dedicated for understanding of the HACCP, not really the thermal processing itself. Why Japan has become this way is confessed by the Japan-Canada Association by themselves. Back in the era where shogun gave back the power, government power to the emperor, a lot of things flooded in from the European countries to this small country, Japan, because we were definitely in the need of developing country. A lot of things must be imported. And that created a deficit in the trade balances, of course, and only the one thing as a foodstuff exported back to Europe was canned food. Therefore, that was really the chance for us to develop a thermal processing knowledge. However, after this trade war or the trade battle, what happened was 2 times of the war. First one was with the Qing, or currently China. Next one was against Russia. And all the canned stuff produced by the Japanese industry was fed into the armies. That way, Japan has an opportunity of aligning themselves to the global standard. Still, legacy of the Japanese canned food remains in the end corner of the world as a geisha brand that I have also witnessed in Ghana. Pitfalls on your way. Must be, a lot of people may be cautioning you, in such a way. Are you good at log or the integral calculation? Don't listen to that kind of buzz. If you have not any time, let's study the latest technologies rather than the classics. But as you're fully aware, all of the latest technology based on the classic. Just by getting back to the classic part of your sciences, you can really make your foundation sound. Why you want to do a review while we have no issues in the thermal processing? And in the thermal processing course, I'll be repeatedly training you up in such a way. A lot of people are not yet notifying anything. That is true. And we are always in the stage of the over-processing the product. That will be killing out all of the thermal processing issues causing microorganisms. That is the reason why. Therefore, we are not aware of that, but still seed of the trouble is soundly embedded, surviving in the technology. Emerging issues. All are written in Japanese, but sweet potato, baked sweet potato is currently the boom in this country. And according to the producers, it seems like roasting is done a little in extended hours. And drying is done also a little in extended hours, so that the enzyme naturally occurring in the sweet potato would be decomposing its starch into sugars, so that the AW going down. And after that, just by applying a very mild little process, they say they can make it shelf-stable. That is true. However, we must focus on how to achieve low AW, water activities. And this is a sort of the primitive, retorting machine that they are applying for the sweet potato. And I have placed a lot of loggers in there. And what I have confirmed is, temperature deviation is so wide in its preheating processes, so that it is very likely that some part of this cage we may have insufficiently cooked product coming out. Best to be aware of, as a precaution to everybody, it's not yet switch on. And all the things that we need to do is just wait by sipping coffee. Don't take that too easily. This technology still have a lot of, issues embedded. Somebody must be well educated. Somebody must be well taking care of the issues. Otherwise, you'll be facing quite big issues later on. Many experts in this field have retired, sorry to mention. You don't have too many consultants around you. And particularly the new front of the application. Just going through thermal processing courses and developing basic knowledge, and you apply that basic knowledge to the front edge part of your issues as well. And this course of thermal processing certainly embed common sense in your mind. Most of you haven't got any of the chances to go through systematic way of the training courses. This course would be the one that will be providing you systematic education. Don't gamble. Don't make any gamble without not having a common knowledge in your mind. Okay, having said this, this is the end of the preview of the thermal processes course, and see you in the movie.